Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we're going to be asking ourselves the question, is Bitcoin primed for a bullish breakout above the all-important level of $6,600? It's been playing a very important role as a level of resistance here over the last 2 weeks or so in the Bitcoin market, because in the last couple of days, in the last week or so, Bitcoin did manage to get above this level, running all the way up to $6,900 before eventually collapsing and falling back below $6,600 and coming down here to get support back down at recent support of $6,250. And ever since we came down here and got this support over the last 48 hours or so, Bitcoin has been trending upward, and like a spring, it's been compressing and coiling, and the tension has been building, and I feel like Bitcoin is about to see a very big move because, guys, we've been in this trading channel, this horizontal trading channel, for literally 2 weeks now. Bitcoin has been moving sideways for 2 whole weeks. That's a very long time for the Bitcoin market especially. And I really don't think it's going to last much longer. I think within a week from now, Bitcoin is going to be at a very, very drastically different price level than it is now. And it is our job in today's video to determine whether that's going to be a good or a bad price level, assuming we're longing here. But anyway, guys, before we get into today's video, if you enjoyed today's video, definitely consider dropping a like, hitting the subscribe button, and smashing the notification bell, guys. We do cryptocurrency videos every single day, and I wouldn't want you to miss any of them. And I do think that this is going to be a good one because I do think that Bitcoin is about to finally get out of this really boring trading channel. Tell me in the comment section down below. I've asked this a couple of times before, but tell me in the comment section down below if you're really getting fed up with this sideways trading action, because it is kind of annoying. It is nice seeing Bitcoin moving up or down. It's at least a little bit more interesting. But anyway, without much further ado, let's get right into the video. Bitcoin is currently trading at around $6,500, and if we come over here to CoinMarketCap and give this a little refresh, we're going to see the same thing, just a little bit over $6,500. Depending on the exchange you look at, of course, it's a little bit higher or a little bit lower. Over the last 24 hours, Bitcoin is up right around 2%, a little under 2%. Ethereum and most of the altcoins following suit. As we can see here, we do see a lot of gainers in the altcoin market. The altcoin market is looking very, very healthy today. I looked over here and saw the NEO symbol on gas, and that freaked me out. Like, what is NEO doing in 99th place? What happened to NEO? But anyway, the altcoins are doing pretty well. NEO almost wasn't, but that's gas, actually. But we can see the altcoins are doing pretty well. We see probably about, I haven't counted, about, I think that's 11 double-digit gainers, which is definitely a nice thing to see indeed. No double-digit losers, with Bitcoin dominant at the bottom and Theta token at the top. But Bitcoin is doing pretty well. It has a market capitalization of around $113 billion and a daily trading volume of around $3.584 billion, which is definitely a low figure for Bitcoin. And a lot of that has come from this gradual uptrend in price action that we've seen Bitcoin partake in over the last 48 hours or so. And this is kind of concerning because leading into the weekend, if we're going to have this little volume going in, happening on a Friday, what's going to happen on the weekend? Is the weekend volume going to taper off to like $3 billion, $2.7 billion? Who knows? But we do want that volume to go back up, at least if we're expecting Bitcoin to break down. We are okay, really, with the volume being low if we're expecting Bitcoin to come up here to $6,600, because it would be much easier to break out of it and create a massive green candlestick. Whether or not that'll be healthy, we'll talk about that in a second. But anyway, Ethereum is currently trading around $277 with a market volume of $1.3 billion. This is likewise pretty low for Ethereum. Typically, this is up around $1.5 to $1.7 billion over the last 24 hours. But let's also talk about market cap, because we haven't talked about that recently. Cryptocurrency's total market cap is hovering at $212 billion, $212 billion, and this is back above $200 billion because we did briefly break below. That was kind of a tongue twister. We did briefly break below $200 billion, but as we had as for most of the history of this bear market in 2018, Bitcoin and the crypto markets had been getting support over here at $250 billion, and that was a bearish sign, around $230 to $250 billion. And we did pull all the way back down here to $200 billion flat, right around 195. It is nice to see this start creeping back up because, of course, we have to add more volume. We have to add more valuation back into the market if we want to reverse this market and get a proper bull cycle coming back in and a new rally forming. With that said, I think that's everything we wanted to cover on CoinMarketCap, so let's go ahead and get onto the chart and dive into what's gone on over the last 72 hours or so. I've been out of the loop a little bit, guys, because I had a bunch of stuff to do yesterday. In fact, what I was doing yesterday, one of them, I'll give you a little bit of details about what's going on. I was taking delivery of all of the parts for my new computer. That should be built and being used in Sunday's video, so it's going to be built tomorrow. It should be ready for Sunday's video, so no more lagging charts. If you go to the community tab on the YouTube channel, I'm going to post a picture of the graphics card. It's an Asus Republic of Gamers Strix GTX 1070. I think that'll be able to run the chart, and then after I get the computer built, I'm going to be recording all the videos for the course, and the course should be launching in the first 3 weeks of September. It should be launching by the end of September. In case any of you guys want an update on that, that's what I've been waiting on. That's why that has been on the back burner a little bit. But anyway, with all of that out of the way, now let's get on to the technical analysis. Like I said, the reason I mentioned that I've been gone for a while is because I haven't been able to keep up with a lot of this movement right in here because I've been gone, and the last video was recorded right about here, and all of this has happened. So Bitcoin has been gradually trending upwards, and what happened right after I made the video that went up yesterday, I recorded the day before yesterday, I talked about how I was worried about Bitcoin coming down here and breaking support down here at $6,250 as a result of the Bitcoin ETF denials, and it seems that wasn't actually the case. Bitcoin did manage to get support down here at $6,250, which is definitely a very nice thing to see indeed, because this is an important level of support. We saw the 2 ProShares Bitcoin ETFs denied, we saw the regular one and the shorts Bitcoin ETF denied. We saw the Direxion, I think I'm pronouncing that right, ETFs denied. And we saw a couple of other Bitcoin ETFs denied by the SEC. But nevertheless, Bitcoin did manage to hold support here at $6,250, which is definitely a nice thing that we want to see indeed. And also, we had a little spinning top right here. Guys, this is a bit of a candlestick. This is a candlestick formation that you can use to kind of get an idea of where the market is going. And this candlestick right here, where you see 2 long wixes, you see the wick right there and the wick right there, the very long wixes, both about the same length and a very short body. That's what's known as a spinning top. And most of the time, you can use that as an indication of uncertainty in the market, and uncertainty in the market, yes. And normally, when that happens, you can kind of say, okay, well, the market's going to go this way, it's going to go this way. The market doesn't really know what it's going to do, and sometimes, oops, that's not what I meant to do. And sometimes it can kind of give you an idea that technical analysis may be going out the window. But when you partner it with a very strong and conclusive bottoming pattern down here with a long bottom wicks down here to $6,250, which we know is a very important level of support, that definitely was a bottoming pattern, and it seems that's exactly what's happened because Bitcoin has been trending upwards here. And there's several different things that we want to talk about with this, but the most important thing is, of course, is Bitcoin going to break $6,600? That's kind of what we're talking about in today's video. So let's continue developing everything we need to know to make an informed opinion on that. Because another thing that happened here on the hourly chart is that Bitcoin, when it bottomed out down here, it also bottomed out down here on 30 on the RSI. If we get our crosshairs out here, we're going to make sure that those are on the same candles. I do believe that's a couple candlesticks before it. Yes, it was right here. We saw a green candlestick and we started trending upwards a little bit, but we did get a bottoming pattern on the RSI right there on this candlestick at 200 hours. On August the 18th, or excuse me, on August the 18th, sorry, on the 22nd of August in the 18th year, sorry about that. But Bitcoin did bottom out down here, and it's been gradually trending upward. And as we can see also, the MACD has been doing quite well. The MACD did cross bullish here on the hourly chart with the MACD line above the signal line. It's looking a little bit concerning right now that the MACD line may cross back below the signal line here. Let me drag this up so you can see that. See how it may be crossing back below here since we're trending downward over the last 2 hours or so. I'm hoping that doesn't happen, but if it does happen, it's not the end of the world. Just because Bitcoin doesn't break $6,600 in the next 24 hours or so doesn't mean that it can't in the future. We've seen Bitcoin get resistance at this level about 3 times, and we've seen a fake out breakout of it once. If Bitcoin does get resistance here on this wicks up at $6,600, it's by no means the end of the world. It just means we're probably going to keep trading sideways for a little while. But like I said in the intro, what seems to be happening here, I can really feel, and guys, sometimes when you've been in markets for a long time, normally when you've been in markets for a long time, and I've definitely been in markets for a long time, I've been watching the Bitcoin market literally every single day for like 8 months. So I have a decent gut feeling about what Bitcoin is going to do because I have experience following the market. And one thing that really helps is that gut feeling, because sometimes when technical analysis is a little bit indecisive or it's not extremely obvious which way a market's going to go based on your technical analysis, sometimes your gut feeling can kind of be the thing that it can be the straw that breaks the camel's back and actually forces you to take up a position or helps you to actually take up a bullish or a bearish position. And right now, with the way Bitcoin has been moving, it's just been kind of gradually trending upwards. It's been doing pretty well in all its indicators, oscillators, moving averages, and everything. It's up here on the RSI. It's in bullish territory on the RSI. It's having a bullish breakout above the MACD on the hourly chart and on the daily chart also. We're still bullish on the daily chart. We talked about this in several other videos. Right there, we are bullish on the daily MACD. A lot of times when you see this kind of thing happening in markets, sometimes it's hard to tell what's going to happen based off the technical analysis. And that's sometimes where your gut comes in. And right now, I'll tell you guys what my gut is telling me. My gut is telling me that there's a lot of tension in this market. It feels like the market is just kind of coiling up and winding up. It's like, it really feels like when you have an old school watch and you wind it up and you're putting tension on that spring so that it can start, so that you're resetting the watch. I'm not a watch mechanic. I don't know how watches work, but I know when you turn that, it coils up a spring. And there's a lot of tension in the market. It feels like there's a lot of tension in the market. It feels like people are very, very tired of Bitcoin trading sideways. And it also feels like to me that the bulls are strong, not quite as strong as some of us may have thought they were 72 hours or so ago back over here, but that they do definitely have strength because they were unfazed by those Bitcoin ETF denials, which a lot of people were expecting to be very bad. And since a lot of people were expecting them to be very bad, a lot of those same people would have been trading based off of those expectations of Bitcoin being bad, or of that being bad for Bitcoin. So I do think there's a lot of bullish tension in the market right here. And I do feel like that we are going to come up here and we're going to either accidentally or intentionally see a breakout above $6,600. And what do I mean by accidentally? What I mean by accidentally is that sometimes a market will accidentally break bullish or bearish above or below a level of support or resistance. And what you can see there is when a market is just coming up here and trending like right up next to a level of resistance for a very long time. Sometimes a whale just comes in, or someone on BitMEX 100x leverages a trade and pushes Bitcoin maybe up to 6650 and then pushes it high enough, and then everybody gets very exuberant, gets very happy, and then starts moving the price higher themselves. I'll show you an example of that. A good example that comes to mind is back over here in mid-July, back over here when Bitcoin was testing resistance at $7,500. As we can see here, as we zoom in the chart, we're going to see, let's try and get this out of the way. What we can see here is that Bitcoin was getting resistance up here at $7,500 for the better part of a week. We saw Bitcoin come up here on the 18th, and by the 23rd, it had finally broken out of it. But in the time in between those 2 days, we saw Bitcoin get resistance once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times, 8 times. Bitcoin got resistance up here a lot, and it just kept hitting its head against that. And that was an indication to me at the time that Bitcoin probably was going to break it, because if Bitcoin was going to be able to go up there and test that level of resistance time and time and time and time and time again, that must mean that the bulls, are definitely very powerful, and that they are able to have control over the market. Maybe not enough control to actually push us through that level, but control enough to keep us up near that level for long enough and enough times that eventually, accidentally, we're going to end up breaking above that level just because someone comes in and 100x leverages it, or someone puts a big trade in when there's low volume. And that's why I mentioned the low volume today. We're looking at very low volume today. And if Bitcoin comes up here around 6650 and we see a very thin order book, a single whale, someone on BitMEX, or someone on longing on and leverage trading on Bitfinex, for example, someone could come up and do a gigantic trade here and just push us above this and see a massive rally like we saw over here. And I do think that's probably what's going to happen, because Bitcoin didn't come down here and start trading around 6250. It came up here and is starting to trade around $6,600. Like I said, this is an indecisive candlestick, and it's a candlestick that says that Bitcoin could go either way. And which way did Bitcoin go? Bitcoin went bullish. It didn't go bearish. It went bullish in a time where some news was breaking, the Bitcoin ETF denials, that everybody thought was bearish. So even in the light of bearish news, and we've seen over the last month or so that no matter what kind of news Bitcoin has, it's typically bad for the market. No matter what kind of news for Bitcoin is typically bad for the market. And this was definitely not really that big of a deal news story to me, but a lot of people were putting a lot of weight on this story. Nevertheless, even with that news story coming to light, I can't speak today, excuse me. Even with that news story coming to light, Bitcoin still did manage to trend upwards. So it does mean that the bulls are in control and have been for the last 48 hours or so. Now we're trending downwards a little bit over the last 2 hours or so, but small little market fluctuations don't mean that much. And I do feel like Bitcoin is going to break above $6,600. I'm not going to say for certain what it's going to do. I'm not going to put a percentage on this. I want to throw it back to you guys, and I want to get your opinions on this, actually. Tell me in the comment section down below and in the poll in the top right, is Bitcoin going to break above $6,600, or are we going to break below $6,250? Which way is Bitcoin going to go? I would love to hear your opinions on that. Let's talk about a couple of other things, and then we're going to wrap the video up, because I am shooting to make these videos around 15, 16, 17 minutes with good information in there, of course, not just filling time. But there are a couple of other things that we want to talk about. I mentioned earlier about how the MACD is definitely bullish now. The MACD did cross bullish. We saw the MACD line come up here above the signal line, and that is definitely a bullish indicator for Bitcoin. It's very good to see that indeed, because the MACD is a lagging indicator, but at the same time, it's also a confirmation indicator of a trend reversal, because a lot of times you see the MACD bullish cross happen maybe 3, 4, 5 days, 3, 4, 5 candlesticks after the actual main point of the trend reversal happens. So for right here, we can see that the MACD cross happened here on the 20th, but we would actually say the bottom was here on the 14th. So it was about a week after the bullish MACD cross actually did happen. But that does mean back here on the 20th, or somewhere in this area right here, Bitcoin did actually go bullish. Of course, you can't ever really nail down exactly when a market turned around unless it's a very, very clearly defined market. But there is also something else we want to talk about, and that is the Heikin Ashi chart. I've mentioned the Heikin Ashi chart in recent videos because it's a very interesting candlestick. It's a very interesting way of modifying candlesticks to give you an idea of which way the market is going. And as you can see, it kind of cuts out a lot of the noise and the static in a market, and makes it much easier to see trends here, because you can see the green is happening right when a market is going up, and right around the time when a market is reversing, it starts going down. It's very good at calling the tops and bottoms of markets. You can see the bottom over here. The bottom over here is called pretty well by the Heikin Ashi. Top called, bottom called, top called, bottom called, hopefully. We see this a lot, and of course, sometimes you see little fake trends here with fake reversals here, but most of the time, the Heikin Ashi chart is pretty good at telling you when a reversal is coming, and over the last week or so, we've seen a lot of green candlesticks on the Heikin Ashi chart. We saw 2 red ones here when Bitcoin was trending down for a little bit, but now the Heikin Ashi chart is green again, and that's definitely a bullish sign. It's fine that we saw a little bit of red here, because as you can see in this downtrend, we saw a little bit of green with fake outs. And I think that's what we saw here on the Heikin Ashi chart. The Heikin Ashi chart and my gut are telling me that we are going to go up, along with the MACD on the hourly, on the daily, the RSI moving up on both charts, on the hourly and on the daily. The RSI moving up is something else I'm looking at. Pretty much everything I'm looking at right now, including my gut, is telling me that we are more than likely going to break through $6,600 and break through the 20 daily EMA, and that we are going to see a rally forming over the next couple of days. And if you're wondering why I was a little bit more bearish in yesterday's video, the reason I was a little bit more bearish in yesterday's video is because I thought there was going to be a bigger reaction to the Bitcoin ETF denial news, and in fact there was not, so I'm reverting back to my main position, which is that Bitcoin is going to break bullish. The only reason I was concerned in yesterday's video was because of the news of the Bitcoin ETF denial perhaps having a negative influence on price action. Clearly that did not happen, so my fears of that have been assuaged. If you're wondering why yesterday's opinion and today's opinion are a little bit different, that would be why. But the last thing we want to talk about is the 20 daily EMA. I've talked about the 20 daily EMA in countless videos. This is one of my favorite indicators in all of Bitcoin technical analysis. This is a very important moving average. It's a very important average, and as you can see, we're butting our heads up against it right now. We're trying to get through it. That little resistance that Bitcoin got in the last couple of hours, it wasn't really resistance on $6,600 right here. That was actually more of resistance on $6,600 and the 20 daily EMA. You can see this little candlestick right here. That was also resistance on the 20 daily EMA, and this is a very important moving average. I've talked about this in many videos, so I'm going to be very brief on it. You can watch a video up here on the top right where I talk about the importance of several different moving averages that are all very, very powerful. You really should watch that video, because some of these moving averages can just tell you a lot about markets. But nevertheless, we can see when Bitcoin is below the 20 daily EMA, it's in a bear market. When it's above, or excuse me, it's in a downtrend. When it's above it, it's in a rally. Very easy to see. I'm sure you guys can see this on your own. You can see it's a very good way of telling when Bitcoin is moving up or down, and Bitcoin is currently trying to get above it. You can see we're butting our heads against it, and it's kind of correlating with $6,600. And I do think, based on everything I've told you in today's video, that Bitcoin is probably going to break bullish. But time is going to tell. And also, like I said, tell me in the comments section and in the poll. You can still access the poll. Click the little eye. It'll be right about here. If you move your mouse, you'll see it. Click the eye, click on the poll, and tell me, do you think Bitcoin is going to break bullish above $6,600, or is Bitcoin going to break bearish below $6,250? You can also tell me in the comments section. Let's get a conversation going down there. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.